You're not tired. You're mentally overloaded. You wake up in the morning, and before your feet even touch the ground, your mind is already running. Thoughts begin to stack on top of each other. Things you need to do, things you didn't finish yesterday, things that might go wrong today. It feels like your brain never really shuts off. Even when your body rests, your mind keeps working, analyzing, replaying, predicting. And by the time the day actually begins, you already feel drained. Not because you worked too hard, but because your mind did. Overthinking is one of the most invisible problems in the modern world. From the outside, everything looks normal. You're sitting, maybe scrolling, maybe doing something small, but inside your head, it's chaos. A constant stream of thoughts, questions, doubts, and imagined scenarios that never seem to stop. A simple decision becomes complicated. A small situation becomes overwhelming. You think about what to say, how to act, what could go wrong, what people might think. And before you even take a step, you've already exhausted yourself mentally. This is not intelligence. This is not deep thinking. This is uncontrolled thinking. And the danger of overthinking is not just that it makes you feel tired, it slowly takes control of your actions. Think about how many times you wanted to do something but didn't. Not because you couldn't, but because you thought too much about it. You analyzed every possible outcome. You imagined failure before even trying. You waited for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect feeling. But that moment never came, because overthinking creates a trap. It convinces you that you need more clarity before you act. It tells you that thinking more will solve the problem, but in reality, thinking more is the problem. Your brain is designed to protect you. It constantly scans for danger, for uncertainty, for anything that might hurt you. And when it finds something unfamiliar, it reacts by slowing you down. It creates doubt. It creates hesitation. It creates fear. Not because you are weak, but because your brain is trying to keep you safe. The problem is, in today's world, that safety system is overactive. You're not facing life-or-death situations, but your brain reacts as if you are. It treats small risks like major threats. It treats uncertainty like danger. And as a result, you start avoiding things that could actually help you grow. Opportunities feel risky. Challenges feel overwhelming. Even simple actions feel heavy. And instead of moving forward, you stay where you are. Overthinking turns your mind into a loop. A thought appears. You analyze it. Then you question it. Then you doubt it. Then you replay it. And before you know it, you're stuck in the same cycle, going nowhere. Hours pass. Energy disappears, but nothing changes. And the worst part? It feels like you're doing something important. It feels like you're solving a problem. It feels like you're being careful, being smart. But in reality, you're just circling the same thoughts again and again without any real progress. That's why overthinking is so dangerous, because it hides itself as productivity. It gives you the illusion of control, while actually taking control away from you. You start trusting your thoughts more than your actions. You start believing that thinking is enough. But life doesn't change through thinking alone. It changes through action. And overthinking blocks that action. It delays decisions. It weakens confidence. It creates hesitation where there should be movement. You begin to doubt yourself more. You question your abilities. You second-guess every step. And slowly, without realizing it, you lose trust in yourself. You stop acting naturally. You stop taking risks. you stop moving forward. Not because you don't want to, but because your mind won't let you. And this is where the real problem begins. Because once your mind takes control, your life follows. Your decisions become slower, your actions become smaller, your world becomes limited. You start living inside your head instead of living in reality. And the longer this continues, the harder it becomes to break free. Because now it's not just a habit, it's a pattern. A pattern of thinking, doubting, hesitating, and staying stuck. But here's something important you need to understand. This is not who you are. This is something your mind has learned. And anything that is learned can be changed. Right now, your mind is running on autopilot, repeating the same patterns every single day. But the moment you become aware of it, the moment you recognize what's happening, you create a gap. And in that gap, control begins. Because you cannot control what you don't notice. But once you see it clearly, once you understand the pattern, you can start to change it. Not instantly, not perfectly, but gradually. And that's where everything begins.
You're not tired, you're mentally overloaded. Now that you understand what overthinking is doing to you, let's go deeper into why it keeps happening, even when you're aware of it. Your mind is not broken. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's scanning, predicting, and trying to protect you from uncertainty. But here's the problem. Your brain cannot tell the difference between a real threat and an imagined one. When you think about failure, rejection, or something going wrong, your brain reacts as if it's happening right now. Your body responds with tension. Your breathing changes. Your focus narrows. And suddenly, a simple thought turns into a full emotional experience. This is why overthinking feels so real. It's not just in your head, it affects your entire system. And because it feels real, you treat it as real. You start reacting to thoughts instead of questioning them. A thought appears, what if I fail? And instead of seeing it as just a thought, you treat it like a warning. So you slow down, you hesitate, you wait. And in that moment, your mind wins. Over time, this creates a habit loop. Thought, fear, avoidance, temporary relief. Every time you avoid something because of overthinking, your brain rewards you. It tells you, good job, you stayed safe. And that reward reinforces the behavior. So the next time a similar situation appears, your mind reacts even faster. More thoughts, more doubt, more hesitation. This is how overthinking becomes automatic. You don't choose it anymore. It chooses you. And the more you follow it, the stronger it becomes. That's why simply trying to stop thinking doesn't work, because you're fighting the wrong battle. You're trying to control the output without understanding the system. Your mind is like a machine that runs on patterns. It repeats what it has learned. If you've spent years analyzing everything, questioning everything, doubting everything, your brain has become extremely good at it. It's efficient, it's fast, it does it without effort. But just because it's automatic doesn't mean it's permanent. The key to breaking this pattern is not force, it's awareness combined with new behavior. You need to interrupt the loop, not by stopping thoughts, but by changing your response to them. Right now, your default response is reaction. A thought appears, and you immediately engage with it. You analyze it, you expand it, you follow it deeper. But what if you didn't? What if you simply noticed the thought and didn't chase it? At first, this will feel unnatural. Your mind will try to pull you back in. It will create more thoughts to get your attention. It will convince you that this one thought is important, that you need to figure it out right now. But you don't. Not every thought deserves your attention. And this is one of the most powerful realizations you can have. Because once you stop giving attention to every thought, your mind begins to quiet down, not immediately, but gradually. Another important thing to understand is that clarity does not come from thinking more, it comes from doing. Overthinkers often believe that if they just think a little longer, they will find the perfect answer. But in reality, action creates clarity. When you take a step, even a small one, you get feedback, you learn, you adjust. But when you stay in your head, you stay stuck in possibilities. And possibilities don't move your life forward. Only actions do. This is why people who take imperfect action often move faster than those who wait for perfection, because movement creates momentum, and momentum weakens overthinking. The moment you act, even slightly, you break the pattern. You shift from thinking mode to doing mode, and in doing mode, your mind has less power over you. But there's something you need to accept. This process will feel uncomfortable. Your mind will resist. It will tell you that you're making a mistake, that you're rushing, that you should think more. But that's exactly the point, because growth always feels uncomfortable at the beginning. You are going against years of conditioning. You are changing a pattern that your brain has relied on for a long time. So of course it will push back. But that resistance is not a sign to stop. It's a sign that you're doing something different, and different is where change happens. The more you practice this, noticing thoughts, not reacting immediately, taking small actions, the more control you gain. Not by force, but by consistency. Because control is not about having zero thoughts, it's about not being controlled by them. And once you reach that point, everything begins to shift.
You're not tired. You're mentally overloaded. Now comes the most important part, learning how to take control in real time. Because understanding overthinking is not enough. Awareness without action changes nothing. You need a system, a way to respond differently the moment your mind starts spiraling. Right now, your default response is to follow your thoughts. A thought appears and you go with it. You analyze it, expand it, question it, and before you know it, you're deep inside a mental loop again. So the first thing you need to do is break that automatic reaction. The moment you notice yourself overthinking, pause. Not for a long time, just a moment. And in that moment, say this to yourself. This is just a thought, not a fact. That simple sentence creates separation. Because when you label something as a thought, you stop treating it as reality. And when it's no longer your reality, it loses power. Next, you need to interrupt the pattern. Overthinking thrives on stillness. The more you sit and think, the deeper the loop becomes. So instead of trying to think your way out, move. Take action immediately. It doesn't have to be something big. Send the message, start the task, write one sentence, make one decision. Small actions are powerful because they shift your focus. They pull you out of your head and into the real world. And once you're in action, your mind has less space to create noise. Another powerful method is setting boundaries for your thinking. Right now, your mind has unlimited time to analyze everything. That's why it never stops. So give it a limit. Tell yourself, I will think about this for 5 minutes and then I move. At first, your mind will resist. It will try to continue the loop. But if you stay consistent, your brain starts to adapt. It learns that there is a boundary, and boundaries create control. You also need to simplify your decisions. Overthinkers often try to find the perfect answer, but perfection is a trap. Most decisions in life are not life-changing.
They don't need hours of analysis. So ask yourself this simple question: is this decision important enough to spend this much energy on? Most of the time, the answer is no. And when you realize that, it becomes easier to let go and move forward. Another key step is managing your input. Your thoughts don't come from nowhere. They are influenced by what you consume. If you constantly feed your brain with negative content, comparison, and noise, your mind will reflect that. But if you feed it with clarity, purpose, and focus, your thoughts will become calmer. So be intentional with what you allow into your mind, because your input shapes your thinking, and your thinking shapes your actions, and your actions shape your life. Now let's talk about something simple but extremely powerful: your breathing. When you overthink, your body goes into a stress response. Your breathing becomes shallow and fast, and this sends a signal to your brain that something is wrong. So your brain creates more thoughts to solve the problem. It becomes a cycle. But you can break that cycle through your breath. Slow, deep breathing tells your brain that you are safe. It calms your nervous system. And when your body is calm, your thoughts begin to slow down. You don't need to control every thought. You just need to create a state where thoughts don't control you. And that state begins with awareness, action, and control. At this point, you might be thinking, this sounds simple, and it is. But simple doesn't mean easy. Because your mind is used to the old pattern. It will try to pull you back. It will create new thoughts, new doubts, new reasons to stay in the loop. But now you know what's happening. Now you can see the pattern. And once you can see it, you can break it. Not perfectly, not instantly, but consistently. And consistency is what creates real change. Because every time you choose action over overthinking, you weaken the loop. Every time you observe instead of react, you gain control. Every time you move forward despite doubt, you grow stronger. And slowly, your mind starts to change. Not because you forced it, but because you trained it.
You're not tired. You're mentally overloaded. At some point, you have to make a decision, not about your goals, not about your future, but about your mind. Because everything you want in life, success, confidence, peace, focus, all of it depends on one thing: your ability to move forward, even when your mind tells you not to. Right now, your mind feels powerful because you've been listening to it so long. Every doubt you believed, every fear you followed, every moment you hesitated, all of it trained your mind to take control. But here's what most people never realize: the mind only has power when you give it power. It doesn't control you automatically. It controls you through your reactions. When you react instantly, it wins. When you hesitate, it wins. When you avoid action, it wins. But the moment you stop reacting automatically, the moment you pause, observe, and choose differently, everything starts to shift. Because now, you are no longer being controlled. You are choosing. And that is where real power begins. Understand this clearly. You don't need a perfect mind to build a powerful life. You don't need to eliminate overthinking completely. You don't need to feel confident all the time. What you need is the ability to act anyway. To move forward even when your mind is loud. To take action even when you feel uncertain. To decide even when you don't have all the answers.
Because action is what breaks the cycle. Not thinking more, not waiting longer, not analyzing deeper. Action. Every time you take action, you send a message to your mind. I am in control. And over time, that message becomes your reality. Your mind starts to adapt. The thoughts don't disappear, but they lose intensity. The doubts don't vanish, but they lose influence. And slowly, you stop being controlled by them. You start trusting yourself more. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You stop needing everything to feel right before you begin. Because you realize something powerful. Clarity comes after action, not before it. Most people are waiting for clarity before they move, but clarity is created through movement. You understand what works by trying. You gain confidence by doing. You build strength by facing discomfort. And the more you do this, the quieter your mind becomes. Not because it has nothing to say, but because you've stopped listening to everything it says. You've become selective. You listen to what helps you and ignore what holds you back. That's control. Not silence, but choice. At this stage, something else begins to happen. You start seeing opportunities instead of problems. You start taking risks instead of avoiding them. You move faster, deciding quicker, acting stronger. Because you are no longer stuck in your head. You are present. You are focused. You are in motion. And motion is where life changes. Because life doesn't reward thinking, it rewards action. It rewards those who move even when it's uncomfortable. Those who step forward even when they're unsure. Those who refuse to stay stuck in the same patterns. Now, let me ask you something. How much time have you already lost to overthinking? How many chances have you missed? How many ideas stayed inside your head instead of becoming reality? You can't change the past, but you can decide what happens next. You can decide that from this moment on, you will not let your mind control your life. You will not wait for perfect conditions. You will not stay trapped in endless thinking. You will act. Even if it's small, even if it's imperfect, even if it's uncomfortable. Because that's how control is built. Not in big, dramatic moments, but in small, consistent decisions. Every time you choose action over hesitation, every time you move instead of waiting, every time you ignore doubt and take a step forward, you are taking your power back. And the more you do that, the stronger you become. Until one day, something changes. The thoughts are still there, but they don't control you anymore. The fear still exists, but it doesn't stop you anymore. You're not stuck in your head. You're moving in your life. And that's the difference between those who stay where they are and those who create something more. So remember this, you're not tired, you're mentally overloaded. And the solution is not to think more, it's to act more. Take control. Start now, and don't look back.